Welcome. Happy Sunday. I'm glad to see you here. Welcome to First Unitarian Church on this chilly Sunday morning. Yes, it's still happening. As with so many things that happen in your own home or with your car, you fix one problem with the boiler and then you discover that it's actually something else. And so that's what we're living in right now as a staff and as a church. Knock on wood, it will be fixed next week and we will have warmth in this sanctuary. In the meantime, we have to create our own warmth, and so I thank you for that. I have a few announcements as we get started today. First, a couple of praise reports. You know how I love a good praise report. Our Compassion in Action team had a great Thanksgiving meal here at the church for the first time. We had about 40 people, came together for a potluck, and kept each other company on the holidays. So thank you if you came, if you brought something, if you participated. We're really glad. Second, our religious education folks had a food drive over the last few weeks, and we are proud to report that they raised over 900 servings of food, packed 60 meal kits, and the kids went over and helped clean the shelves and do some inventory for the Kids, which is the organization we were collecting for. This is an organization that provides meals for kids in elementary schools. So if you helped your kid do the shopping for that, if you came along and helped, or if you supported in any way, we're so grateful. Thank you. Now, if you are looking for more opportunities to give, here's some options. First of all, we are collecting funds once again to support our friends over at San Esteban Episcopal Church over in West Valley City, as we do most years. And so you can donate. Stephanie will take a check, or she will find some way to take your money. We will always take your money. If you haven't ever heard me say that, well, here you go. We will always find a way. But within a couple of hours, you should be able to give with your Breeze app, or you can go home and use the website. You can give on our website, and there will be a line in the drop-down menu that says San Esteban. So thank you once again. We'll be collecting throughout the month, and I'll remind you. But now is your first opportunity, so thank you for that generosity. Now, it's so hard to believe that we're 4 weeks out from Christmas. I can't get my brain around it, but here we are. And we're even less time away from solstice, which is on the 21st. So if you would like to help, we're going to do a solstice festival outside on the grounds, just like we did last year. It was so fun and so cool. So if you'd like to be a help in organizing that, you can see Amanda Esco. She's our Director of Religious Education. If you don't know Amanda, come find me and I'll introduce you. The next Sunday, which is the 4th, we're going to have our tree trimming and hanging of the greens. It'll happen right after this service in Elliott Hall. We'll decorate the chapel as well, and everyone is invited to attend. We would love to have you gussy up our sanctuary and our church. Last announcement is about a religious education opportunity for adults. If you are committed, like I am, to creating a multicultural church community, I'd like to invite you to participate in a monthly book club with me and with Reverend Laura, who is the minister down at South Valley in Cottonwood Heights. We're hosting a book club on the book called Mistakes and Miracles. It's available at the UUA bookstore. And it is a case study of 5 UU congregations who committed themselves to becoming a multicultural church. And it's all the dirty details, the good things and the not so good things. So we want to study these churches and see what they did, how we can emulate them, and what to avoid. So if you'd like more information about that, check in the torch, or you can email me and I'll give you the details. Today, we welcome to the pulpit Nancy Moos, our lay minister, also Derek Geresdorf, who has a message for us about stewardship, and we're so grateful to have the music of Wylie Lander. Thank you. Now, it's cold in here. Our senior minister and our tech director still have COVID. And I couldn't find a lighter this morning that worked. So it's just one thing after another. But you know what? We've been making church here for over 100 years, and it ain't going to stop us today. We're going to do it again. So I invite you now to join with me. Make this room 1 degree warmer as we light our chalice. Today with these words by Jan Richardson. On that night when you are holding your very last hope, thinking to let it go as too small to be saved or sanctified. On that night when you turn away at last from the far horizon over which you had thought your life would come to find you. On that night, believe me, this is where the ache will give way to the mystery, and the blessing that seemed so distant will quietly come to meet you, holding your heart in its 2 luminous hands. And now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing number 108.
My childhood home will soon belong to someone else. The only home that I really remember from my youth will no longer be mine. This makes my heart hurt more than I imagined it would right after my mother's death, when my sisters and I spruced up the place and painted it. It was a way of working through our grief. My sister, her wife, and 2 kids moved in with my mom when my dad died 5 years ago. My mother had married at 19, and she had never lived alone a day in her life. So this was a blessing that they were able to do this. They were there for my mom through every day, through the grief, through the depression, the dementia that followed. They earned the right to stay there until they were ready to move on, and that time is now coming. The sorrow I feel surprises me in its intensity. I'm losing my home. The place I learned to ride a bike and skinned my knees so many times. Where we played volleyball and foursquare, football, gin rummy. Where we fought each other and we loved each other. And we would laugh so hard that the milk would squirt out of our noses. This was the house that I learned to do algebra in, to build a fort in, to trust in. My reaction has made me consider what the word home means. Home is a place where we can be ourselves. We can let down our guard and our false cheerfulness. We can put on our comfy sweatpants, relax on the couch, put up our feet. We don't have to pretend when we're at home. Home can also be a feeling. We can be on a trip far from our home, look at those around us, and feel such a sense of comfort and joy that we feel at home. People can be our home. On Ingathering Sunday this fall, I was overcome with a feeling of home right here in this sanctuary. We all stood to sing the Doxology together, and I began to cry. From all that dwells below the skies, let hymns of faith and hope arise. What a feeling that was, singing together after so much time apart. Many of us literally scared to breathe the same air as each other. I had no idea how much I had missed that feeling of creating music here in my church home. I wish I could bottle that feeling and get it out whenever I need it, when life is challenging, when I feel a bit lost, when I feel alone. I don't just mean, I wish that I could share it with those who need it, those who are homeless. And I don't just mean people without a physical place to live. I mean those who don't experience that sense of home, that sense of belonging. Maybe they've never had a place that feels like home. Maybe they have hurts that run deep and can no longer connect to that feeling of being cared for and wanted. I'd like to give them a drink from my bottle of home. The thing I've come to understand is that wherever I am, I'm at home. Because my home is within me. It's here in my mind. It's here in my heart. It's where I strive to trust myself. And sometimes that trust is hard to find, but I'm working on it. Out on a hike, blissing out on nature, I'm at home. Gathering for a meal with those that I love, I'm at home. Reaching out to another person who's in pain and despair, I'm at home. This trust in my own home allows me to recognize that I am part of a larger home, that I'm also responsible to and cared for by a larger community. I want to be a home for those around me. I want others to be a home for me. I want us to be homes for each other. I wonder how my childhood home will change over time. Will the new owners remake the deck that my parents renewed their vows for their 40th anniversary? And many countless other family celebrations? Will they take out the apple tree that my dad was so proud of? Will they welcome the birds like my mother did? I don't know that I want to know. Not only because it might be painful, but it will not be my home anymore. I may be losing a house, but I can't lose my home. My home is wherever I am, because it's here inside of me.
It's always hard to follow Nancy. Morning, everyone. My name is Geresdorf, and I've been asked to talk about stewardship. Why am I a steward of the First Unitarian Church? Well, unfortunately, or sadly, it's because this church community is the best kept secret in town. If people in this valley knew what happens here, they'd be coming in droves. I would like to highlight a few of the many reasons why I'm a steward of this cherished community. I recently led a class here on the 6 Unitarian Universalist sources of wisdom and inspiration using the Socratic method. Having visited countless churches, rarely do religious or spiritual communities draw on such a wide range of sources to inform and improve our lives. From the direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, to wisdom from all the world's religions, to humanism, science, and reason, to spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions. I've seen over the years that these sources become alive in us as individuals and as a whole in our community as we live them and share them with each other in our own search for truth and meaning. Small group ministry, another program where we get together once a month to discuss deep, heartfelt topics, is, dare I say, a spiritual experience. Like mysticism, a spiritual experience is ineffable. Words fail to describe. But the strong bonds we form and the intimacy in our shared conversations create lasting relationships. And small group ministry is just one of many church programs you can participate in and be a steward of. This church is the perfect marriage of heart, mind, and action. Marriage. Perhaps there is polygamy here at this church as well. Aristotle's system of ethics is called virtue ethics. He taught that you become more moral over the course of your life by imitating the virtues of those around you. There are many virtues, but in this context, I want to focus on generosity, being generous in our community. If you look around you, you will find many in the church who live and breathe generosity, both in time and money, to make this church the best kept secret in town. I invite all of you to be generous stewards of this community. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share with all your friends. But humor aside, besides pledging, increasing your pledge, donating to the auction, the collection plate today, one of the ways you can be a steward of this church is I have a few spots left for my dinner discussion nights that I offered for the auction. So reach out to me after the service. You can sign up, and thank you very much.
Hear these words by my colleague, the Reverend Ashley Horan. To our beloved trans and queer family, if your heart is broken, we weep with you. May you sense how fiercely you are held in love. If your fists are frozen in rage, we scream our fury alongside you. May you be warmed by the white-hot heat of our righteous solidarity. If your stomach drops with terror, we tremble with you. May you feel the strength of the safety we wrap around one another. If your bones are weary, we sink down next to you. May deep rest be the companion of your grief. Even on the todays, the mornings when mourning our dead and fearing for our lives is the metallic aftertaste on our tongues, we still dance because the surging electric life force that loved us into being and pulses in our veins is too powerful to stay inert and unmoving. How could we be still? We sing because the defiant hymns of our ancestors reverberate in the tiniest interstices of our cells. How can we keep from singing? How can I keep from singing? We still congregate because, like root systems and constellations and watersheds, the molecules of our being only make sense when we are intertwined and inseparable and powerfully free in our interdependence. How could we do otherwise than to claim and choose each other every day? We dance our resistance. We sing our belovedness. We gather each other up and we do not let go. As is our vow, today and all days, we mourn the dead and fight like hell for the living. And all the while, we will repeat this truth till it is lodged in our bones and undisputed anywhere. We were meant for life, for abundance, for freedom. We were made for joy. You didn't believe, but I had faith. Today is the first Sunday of Advent, and the first candle of the wreath is for hope. We were made for joy, but joy is the fourth candle, so we have to wait a few weeks. But that's what Advent is about, waiting. Although it's not a countdown to Christmas, as capitalism tries to sell it back to us, new and improved in clamshell packaging. The coming of hope and joy into the world is worth waiting for. But waiting has spiritual value of its own, even if the waited-for moment never arrives. It's a practice of being present, attentive, noticing, naming what you see, noticing what's missing, slowing back down to the speed of real life, lived without pretending, without all the scaffolding with which we surround ourselves just to get through the days, slowing down, breathing in, accepting, and waiting. These days, I notice exhaustion in you, in most people around me. I notice dread without a target, a fog of dread that hangs over us until suddenly a shot rings out, and we all turn our panicked eyes toward the next calamity. This past weekend, the shots rang out in Colorado Springs. Was it any coincidence that it happened on Transgender Day of Remembrance? Well, it's still too early to know, and none of us want to spend much time thinking about the villain who committed this atrocity, what might have been going through their mind. But do we really have to look any further than the rhetoric of the politicians who egg this behavior on, who spit slurs into their lapel mics as they hold forth on conservative talk shows, and then pretend like they have no idea how this tragedy could have happened? We'd rather turn our attention toward the victims, and that's probably right to do. And anyway, it doesn't matter because many of us can't avoid thinking that could have been me. It's well in my past now, but I know what it's like to go to the bar with the rainbow flag over the door and think, oh my God, there are other people like me, and they're okay, and they're happy. I know what it's like to feel a little too vulnerable holding hands with a girl, even inside that friendly place, and to put just a little extra step of distance between us when we step outside at the end of the evening, just in case. Just make it look like we're just friends. And we are, right? Just friends. This wasn't just a bar shooting. It was a church shooting. It was a shooting at a family reunion, because every night is a family reunion at a bar like that, and every song sung by a drag queen or played by the DJ is a hymn, and every toast raised is communion, and every word spoken or shouted is a prayer. It's a sanctuary for people who discover something about themselves that makes them vulnerable, no matter whether they hide it or whether they come out. And it's a particular kind of evil to violate a sanctuary like that. An evil that poisons both the closet and all spaces that are not the closet, that make us question our safety in every space. Well, I'm a middle-aged lady now who's been married for 20 years, and 9 p.m. is bedtime, and one drink makes me sleepy, so I don't go to that kind of church very often these days. But I'm learning now what it's like to be the parent of a baby queer, to be friends with other parents like me who worry in the small hours about the clubs he'll be going to and how safe they are, and where are the safe places besides bars, and all the other things parents worry about, just seen through a rainbow-colored lens now, as if just sending him off to high school every day wasn't worrisome enough. Last Sunday morning, I heard about this shooting at Club Q in Colorado Springs, and I grieved quietly all day, and by Monday it still wasn't enough. So I went down to the Pride Center that evening where the good folks were holding a candlelight vigil, because one thing I learned in those wilder, more tender days is that when bad things happen, you need your community. There's comfort in community with other people who are feeling what you're feeling, all the things you feel and you don't know how to say. We stood out there on the patio in the fall chill and passed the light from one candle to the next. And the people who had gathered just told their stories. Several had just recently come out, and their fear was fresh. Now that I'm out, I'm a target. Some of the candles blew out, or their wicks were too short, and they had to be relit. But you could just reach out and touch a neighbor's elbow, and they'd turn and relight it for you. And that's what it means to share community, that we're close enough to reach out. A touch is enough. No words need to be exchanged. And we can rekindle our flame long enough to create a little light, a little warmth, a little shelter for ourselves and each other. There have been other mass shootings this week, 7 others to be precise. I woke up on Wednesday to hear about 6 people killed by a store manager at a Walmart in Chesapeake, Virginia. And here in Salt Lake, a young mother shot outside a nightclub on the same night as the Club Q shooting. A pair of grandparents, a person having a mental health crisis. It's just too sad to recount more details from the pulpit. We are surrounded by violence everywhere we go. But we have to turn it down just so we can get out of bed, so we can go on with our lives. If you can't manage to turn it down, if your internal volume knob is broken, you can't be blamed because it is just loud. It's just loud. But there's a particular frequency for the discord of targeted violence, the act of violence directed at people who are just trying to be themselves, or maybe trying to figure out who they are. A journey which harms no one, and actually brings beauty and music into the world. It's not your fault, loves. None of this is your fault. And it's okay to cry and rage and to feel confused. We're there with you. You don't deserve this. I know we want to burn it all down sometimes, but don't rush past this moment. Sit with it and love it like a child. Give it your full attention, because what happens next makes all the difference. The attention that you give to focusing that flame from a raging fire to the kind of light you can pass on to others. It matters. This time of year, I always bring out my Advent wreath, and I put it in a central place in my home, and I set up the candles. Right away, I start to breathe a little deeper, relax a little. I like to spend a few moments each morning at the table in candlelight, drinking my coffee and reading from a daily devotional, tending my flame, being present to the waiting day ahead, saying to it, not yet, I'm busy, just being right now. The woe of the world can wait until I have rekindled my resources for responding to it. This ritual reminds me that I don't have to carry the weight of the whole world on my shoulders, but the attention that I give to my inner world makes it possible for me to be both vulnerable and strong in the outer world. Now, maybe this isn't your ritual. Okay, let's face it, it's probably nobody's ritual but mine. But in these times, as we head into the holidays, and as we face the reality of the hardness and brutality of the world, we need to make space for ourselves, touch base with ourselves. We need to cultivate a practice of waiting for the world we dream about to arrive, so that we may see, in the words of Arundhati Roy, that she is already here. And if we listen closely, we can hear her breathing. Your waiting does not have to be passive. Let us wait in an active way. For example, our friends at Foothills UU Church in Fort Collins, I love this so much. They argue that this is a time to be more gay, be more trans, be more wild love and unfounded hope. Be more of what you were made to be. Shine your light brighter. Wear your rainbows louder. You don't have to wait for Pride or Coming Out Day. Just use whatever holiday happens to be racing by at the moment. Grab a hold of Christmas or Hanukkah or the solstice. Use this gorgeous, ordinary day. Light your candles. Don't let anybody take your joy. We are living in wild times, and we need real joy to give us enough hope to get through it. No substitutes. No fake joy bought on sale. You got to make that joy with your own two hands and then pass the light to somebody else. While you wait for the new world of freedom to fully arrive, we need your light now. Be contagiously, unavoidably joyful. Mourn the dead and fight like hell for the living. You were made for life, for abundance, for freedom. You were made for joy. Amen. I invite you once more to join me in singing number 170. Please rise in body or spirit. Our closing words today are by Atina O. Danner. I will boldly protect my softness, defend my sleep, and liberate all of my unassigned minutes, hours, and days. I'm one soft animal among many, a cell in the breathing world's body. Let us be cared for as such. May it be so.
I was reflecting on Ian's words from last week about sometimes not wanting to get up and come to church. I have to because it's my job. But very often, about 20 or 30 minutes into the morning, I realized that in addition to being required to be here, I want to be here. And I'm so often thunderstruck. How did Monica know exactly that she needed to write a sermon for me? And the immense value that we get from that. And it's a great blessing. It's also a lot of fun. One thing I did want to mention, for those of you who don't know yet, if you want to follow the order of service, on the QR code, you can follow that order of service. There's a lot of information in that order of service that you don't get unless you get it. Another big point of joy that I find in this church is with our youth. And next week, guess what I get to do? After 28 years of being here, I get to spend Sunday school with the kids. I will not be here. So I'm so excited I can't stand it. But we have a delightful guest musician joining us. Those of you who remember Nicole Pinnell, the cellist, please don't be absent. Another one of our youngsters is Mr. Wylie Lander, a delightful student of mine that we've had a whole lot of fun with. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in one of those, oh God, I don't want to teach piano lessons today moods. And Wylie showed up, and we wound up having a lot of fun. And he started doing this little piece called Labradoodle, and we've had a lot of fun with it. He's doing a great job. And we decided to kind of retitle it David and Wylie Taking a Happy Dog Out on an Autumn Walk. So. I'm the bark.
Wylie, what a gift you are. Thank you. Thank you for your music. Thank you, David. Thank you to Lee and Linda Schuster for filling in for Tristan today. We really appreciate it. Those are big shoes, and not many people have that skill set, so we're really grateful to y'all for doing that. Please stay and have some coffee with us. It's great to see you today.